everybody, hope you're well and you've enjoyed a fantastic weekend. So this is the tail end of the 30 by 30 inch panel that I was painting last week. You'll probably recognise some of the water from the earlier video and the reeds, of course, and now we're moving on to the rocks here in the foreground. As you can see, I'm working on the reflection at the moment, and once again, as per normal, I'm using one of my favourite techniques, and that's just to get some very watered down black. So we're using turpentine here, maybe a little bit of liquid in there as well, and I'm just putting black on. There's a touch of burnt umber in this as well, but it is predominantly black. But because it's very watered, it's picking up a lot of the colour underneath it. So it looks black in the video, but it is in fact it's coming out dark brown. Once we've sort of filled in all these darker areas, I'll go over the top with some of the highlights, giving you the reflections of the lighter part of the rock above. Bearing in mind here that we are working wet on wet, so I'm going to have to put on a few layers to really try and get that thickness of paint so that it looks light, because you are painting light on dark.
Don't hold it back. Just watch me as I go. I'm breaking these chains and releasing all of us. Open the sky. It's in your hands. Remember the secrets, and your soul will mend. We are magical, so magical. We will never grow old.
I quite enjoy painting these reflections in the foreground like this. You really can, put in loads and loads of detail. You can't really go too over the top here, and these little bits here, these smaller areas where you've got rocks or you might have some reeds, really do finish the picture. It really helps give you that impact and the depth of field. So I like to make these areas at the front here, and in particular with these rocks, look really sharp. So what I'll do is I'll put an outline of almost black once again round each rock, just to sort of pull it out. And then I'll fill it in. It's it's not dissimilar from colouring in a colouring in book when you were a kid. It's the same sort of thing, a little bit more technical, but very effective.
Would you make me whole again? Oh, learning from mistakes, we could rise above ourselves. Oh, so let it floating down the stream, the flow in my veins. We'll always try to reach for you.
I do apologise for my croaky voice. I've had a bit of a cold the last few days. I'm getting over it now, but the voice has been the last thing to come back. But I think it's on its way now, much to my wife's displeasure, I think.
So magical, our waiting goal, and we will never grow old.
Now I started off doing the lighter part of this rock with it's like a flat hog brush, I wasn't terribly happy with the way it was working. It's, sometimes these things, it's trial and error. You don't know exactly the best way to do it when you first start, but you try a few different techniques, find the one that works well, and in this case, that wasn't the one. So a bit later on, I'll go on to using a pointed brush, and I'm almost drawing the detail on with that. Once I start using this more pointed brush here, the technique doesn't really change a great deal. Excuse me. You're just putting the lights on in the right places, and I'll put it on. I put it on to begin with, thinking it would be light enough. But as the paint dries, it does tend to darken a little bit sometimes. So I'll end up going over it again, possibly with something a little bit lighter, just to give it that strength against the dark water below it, behind it. There's something nice about putting a solid object like that in a picture, because unless you're painting a building or a stone wall or something like that, a human-made structure, you don't have too many sort of sharp edges. But with these rocks, because you've got the rest of the water is quite soft, and the reeds are, they're quite soft too. This really does help give you that depth of field. And I tend to find that when I'm painting, I do try and keep the distance as soft as I can, really. And then the foreground, I like to really sharpen it up. And one way to do that is to put that dark line around the outside. And you can do that with pretty much anything. I mean, I'll do that with leaves. So as you come right to the very foreground, if in the undergrowth you've got leaves or blades of grass or reeds or whatever it is, and I'll do a very, very thin dark line around it, and it really does help sharpen it up. It gives it that contrast to make it look sharper. So here we're moving into the slightly darker areas of the rock, and it's similar tone to the lighter part. All I've done here is I've just mixed in a little bit more black. You've got perhaps a bit of phthalo green possibly in that, just a touch. You've still got the burnt umber. There might be a bit of ultramarine blue in that as well. But you're just slightly darkening it a bit. It is a very similar tone, and of course it will be a little bit cooler as well, hence the blue. So I'm just working my way here from the left side of the rock over to the right there, and as you can see, I've got that little bit of wood there that I'm leaning against so I don't smudge the paint. We're putting in a waterline. It's quite effective doing this, actually. I don't know that this was in the original photograph, but I quite like putting that in. It just helps it look like water, I think. It just gives it that little special touch. Do the same thing now with the rock to the right of it. Probably won't do the whole area here, but I think that's pretty much all you need, just to give it that idea that it's sitting in the water. And oh, a bit of a cough. The old throat's drying up here, so I'm gonna let this time lapse go on for a little bit. But once again, the technique hasn't changed, so I'm just building it up here. I do plan on going into more detail in the next few weeks, and from then onwards, with regard to mixing the paint and the colours that I use. I'm going to have another camera set up on the palette so you can see in real time exactly what I'm mixing. I've had quite a few people ask me about the colours, and I think that'll be a pretty interesting addition to the video. So, and will also help you, give you a better idea of what I'm doing. But as I always say, it's not necessarily the way to do it or the best way to do it for you, but this works well for me. You know, there is no right or wrong way for this. It's about trial and error. And I've spent years and years and years doing the wrong thing as well as the right thing. And I've learned the best way to do certain things. So if I can help you in any way, then that's great.
Never felt more like a winner than I do tonight. Never more certain the path laid before me was right. You over there with the curls in your hair, couldn't find more of a reason to stare. Never seen eyes look into me as you do tonight. And honey, I've been racing the wind like a bird, been chasing the wealth of the world, but it fades when you're near. So tell me where we go from here. Tell me where we go from here. If you'd hate the ocean, then I turn the water to land. If you'd miss the sunlight, I'd fill up the cups in my hands. And honey, I've been racing the wind like a bird, been chasing the wealth of the world, but it fades with you near. Tell me where we go from here. Oh, where do we go? The lights burn out low, the spring turns to snow. Where do we go? Whatever I do it with you. 'Cause honey, I've been